Good morning, Card Muni. It's RJ back with another video. Let's get to it. Today's random Mike Schmidt items of the day. Showing off my Topps Project 70 and Project 100 Mike Schmidt slabs. So I got both of the ones from 2021. Obviously, these are always caricature cards. This is loosely based on, I think, the 2007, 2008 Topps Baseball. Created by an artist called F. Dot. There's his bio on the back if you want to look him up sometime. But you can see the circle letters at the top. That's a 2008 style. Everything else is pretty much standard fare. Nothing outlandish. They got the love statue, which is famous in Philly. You got your 1980 with a kind of pretzel motif. That's the year they won the World Series. 500 home runs. And actually the number symbol is part of the word hoagies, which is the word hoagie is Philadelphia for a Subway sandwich. 548 home runs. It's interesting they have 548, which is his total, and the number 48 in the thing is a little bit bigger because 48 was his season high. So a lot of interesting things wrapped up in this motif. Second one from 2021, Project 70. This guy here, just a picture. It's an actual photo used in several Topps cards. The cityscape in the background there. This one was by a guy named King Saladin. You can see his bio right there. Nothing fancy on this one. Those are the two Project 70 from 2021. And last year there was a Project 100 one kicked off. This is just really weird. I don't get the iguana face or whatever, but they were sure to capture his mustache though. It is kind of cool. This is based on the 1980 Topps cards. This is from a guy named Elbow Glass. You know, whatever. It's just the one that they issued. It's, this is one of those things. Wherever I see these being released, I'll grab them. The Mike Schmidt one ASAP. Often I will do the 4-pack of whatever 4 stars are on that. That's why I got a lot of random extra cards of these project cards, because I sometimes buy the 4-pack and I'm only interested in the Mike Schmidt ones, so the others just kind of go by the wayside. They're in my collection, but I don't know what to do with them. Today's random baseball item, got a new card for my all-time greatest Phillies, my PSA set registry. Picked up here the 1949 Bowman Willie Jones. His nickname was Puddinhead. He was our third baseman, I think. I can't remember if he's our third baseman or our first baseman. I can always get him and Granny Hamner mixed up. He just calls him an infielder on the card, so I really don't know for certain, but this is the Willie Jones. He was part of the Whiz Kids back in 1950. That's why he's on the greatest Phillies PSA set registry. This was the third one I got this year. A couple days ago, I showed off, a couple videos ago, I should say, the Robin Roberts and the Chuck Klein that I picked up at the Philly show back in March. This one picked up off the bay not too long ago for a very inexpensive price because it's a no-name guy in a PSA 5. Even though it's 49 Bowman, Willie Jones is not a huge name. So I have 2 more on the way. That'll be 5. I still got 4 more to go. 4 more to go this year to meet my goal of 9 for the year. So, still got, 5.5 months, plenty of time. So that is my random baseball item of the day. Today's trivia question. Interesting card for you all today. This is this year's 2023 Topps Heritage. This is the New Age Performer card of Luis Ariz. And if you're not paying attention, he is now on the Marlins and is hitting somewhere close to 380 for the year. So he is becoming a big name star. This is not a rookie card. It's not something crazy. It's just a card of Luis Ariz. So, I mean, that's all I have to show. Oh, the trivia question. I'm getting distracted by something in the background here. The trivia question, that's the prize for this question. In the modern era, which means post-1900, in the modern era of World Series play, which World Series had the fewest total number of runs scored? In other words, out of 4 to 7 games, or even 8 games sometimes. Let's say out of the 4 to 9 games played every year, because again there were 9 games played 3 years back in the day. Out of all the games played at the end of the year in one World Series by both teams combined, what year had the fewest runs scored, and what was the total number of runs scored in that World Series? All right, email me the correct answer on that. I will include my email in the description below, along with the repeat of the question. You will have today and tomorrow to answer, and we will pick a winner on Sunday. All right, good luck to everybody on that. Today, I'm showing off just a very random thing. It's going to be a short one, because I like short ones every once in a while, but went to my LCS on Saturday and noticed they had a stack of yearbooks, Phillies yearbooks for sale. And I am trying to put together a full set of Phillies yearbooks. I believe the first Phillies yearbook was 1945 or thereabouts, the late 40s. And I'm, slowly trying to acquire all of them. I have most of them from the 70s on. I'm certainly missing some in the gaps there, but they can be had pretty easily. It's going backwards into the 50s and 60s and 40s or whatever that becomes more difficult. Although it helps that the Phillies are a pitiful team and not a lot of people collect them, so it's not that difficult to get Phillies memorabilia. It helps me out as a fan. So let's start with the most recent of. I picked up 3. The most recent one that I picked up was the 1968 Phillies yearbook. Not a particularly notable season for the Phillies fans. Interestingly, it cost $1. $1 for your official yearbook. Cost me significantly more than that today. There's a little stiffener in the back there, but this is a kind of like a top loader for magazines, and that is the 1968 official Phillies yearbook. Next one I picked up, a little bit more ratty shape, but it's still a good Phillies yearbook. 1966 yearbook, again, still a pretty pitiful team. That's a picture of what was called at the time Connie Mack Stadium, which previously had been named Shibe Park. Still cost you $1 going back in time. So that is the 1966 one. Since this one is loose, I'm going to kind of thumb through a little. Bunch of guys that everyone ever heard of. Dick Groat, famous for the Pirates. A lot of time was on the Phillies by this time. Look at this. Here you go. Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker was on the Phillies back in '65. I think he was already gone not too long after this. Another famous individual, Bill White, who eventually became president of the American League at one time. Bill White was on the Phillies, so it's a couple umpires. Let me go through real quick, see what kind of names we got in here. Nobody big on that one. Gene Mauch was the manager at the time. Gene Mauch's one of those poor guys. If he had, Jim Bunning was their star Hall of Famer at this time. If Jim Bunning had just won a dang game at World Series, he probably would have been in the Hall of Fame if he just won one. He had that great of a record as a manager, but he never could get over that hump. He had many chances. Going into the 80s, he still had a shot to win a World Series, but he came up short. So, no big name guys here. I'm trying to find some other big names. So, Bo Belinsky I've heard of. I don't know what Bo's history was, but here you go. Very young Ferg Jenkins on the Phillies. Very young Grant Jackson, I remember. He ended up playing a long career. What else we got in here? Dallas Green, the manager from the 1980 World Series winners. Clay Dalrymple. Interesting to see the Phillies did have some big names either early in their career or late in their career. Interesting to see. You wonder why we couldn't have them all in their prime. Here's Richie Allen or Dick Allen, depending how you call it that day. Will be a Hall of Famer eventually. Don't know why they're waiting, but eventually he'll get there. Johnny Callison, who was a Philly that a lot of people really loved in this city. Great team photograph. Color. It's in color. You got some more people here. Youngsters. Nobody I recognize here. There's Paul Owens looking really young. He was the general manager on and off of the Phillies forever. So interesting to see that. Here's your staff members. Trying to see if anybody like really famous was because I remember there's been a lot of famous people who at one time or another were associated with the Phillies. Here's Eddie Sawyer. He was the manager of the 1950 team. Still there with the Phils. There's your coaches. Frank Lucchese was a manager back in the 70s then. Andy Semenick was the catcher on the Whiz Kids. The reason I'm going through this one is because it's open. The other two are kind of sealed a little bit. A couple other. Rick Wise became a really good pitcher. He had that game once when he hit 2 home runs and pitched a no-hitter in one game. Very exciting there. Shows them in their spring training down in Jack Russell Stadium. Some of the other staff members. It's just so funny seeing all of these different things in the thing. Oh, here you go, some history. So here's the people who were running the team. Ruly Carpenter, or Bob Carpenter Jr. was the president. Here's his son, Robert Jr., or the third. Everybody called him Ruly. He was actually in charge of the team when they won the World Series in 1980. He had taken over from his father, a very young-looking Larry Schenk. Larry Schenk was the promotional director a long time for the Phillies. Just retired a couple of years ago from the Phils. Here's some of their history, some of the better players of the past, some of the better pitchers of the past. There you go, just some of the great players who played through Connie Mack Stadium. I think we all know most of these guys here, so that's what a yearbook looked like back in 1960. And then the final yearbook I got, this one is also in a sleeve, so I'm not going to take it out right now. But this is a very interesting yearbook because it's 64. It's got a lot going on. It's got Jim Bunning on the cover, which is cool. You can see this is why this is the second edition of the 1964 yearbook, because they put in a nod to Jim Bunning, who had pitched that perfect game on Father's Day, 1964. And 1964, of course, is the year of the great Phillies collapse. They were like 6 games ahead, 6.5 games ahead with only 10 to play, and they blew it amazingly. Lost 10 in a row, 11 of the last 12. It was just disgusting. Anyway, so those couple of yearbooks I picked up at the LCS this morning. Something simple, easy for us to get through in a short amount of time. Hope you enjoyed that. Again, we did have the trivia question. Don't forget that. And if you get a chance, come back again on Sunday. We'll go through all of the answers and give away some great prizes, all right? Appreciate everybody for taking your time to tune in. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and all that jazz. I do my best to support everybody else in this great community, and I appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, come back on Sunday for the trivia recap, and I hope to see you again next week for more great trivia and prizes, all right? Thanks for watching. Take care.